PRX.
Friends beyond the Enterprise. Friends beyond the binary. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whether you're on a voyage, you're enterprising, or the Enterprise is beyond you, you say, well, I guess I'm not sure what is the Enterprise? It's been used now isn't a place you go and rent a car? No, I said the Enterprise. I don't know I don't even know which generation. I mean, it's the next generation. But, I don't know what I'm talking about because if you say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, that means you may be in the right place because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that's here to put you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. To take your mind off stuff and keep you company because you deserve a good night's sleep. This podcast, it does take some getting used to. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries before you realize, oh, this show never gets started and never goes anywhere. I'm supposed to just barely listen to you. So see how it goes. But really, the reason I make the show and the reason so many people listen is because we believe you deserve a good night's sleep. And the one thing that connects us is we know how it feels in the deep, dark night. We might not know exactly what you're going through, but we can probably relate, or someone listening right now can relate to how it feels. And I'd like to help. And the way I do it is this show, it starts out with some support. Then there'll be a long, meandering intro that's meant to ease you into bedtime. And then we'll start talking about Star Trek: The Next Generation in a very indirect and oblique way. And then we'll have some thank yous at the end. So it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And here's a couple of ways we're able to do it for you for free twice a week. Hey, everybody, Scoots, and I don't know how you're listening to Sleep With Me right now, but don't you want to be listening to the show in the most comfortable way possible? How about with a little bit of a Sleep With Me swag on your forehead? So, I mean, and maybe anybody else, say, oh boy, sleeping with my boyfriend here. Well, the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me is with sleep phones, and you could get Sleep With Me branded sleep phones at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones. It's amazing, comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me. They have wireless sleep phones. They have corded sleep phones. They have wireless with wireless charging sleep phones. So you don't need your phone there. And you won't keep your partner awake or your pet awake. They're great for running. They cover your ears. Some people even pull them down over their eyes. And you could get those at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones. Treat yourself in the new year, because I don't know which way you're listening to Sleep With Me now. Don't you want to listen the most comfortable way? That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones, and use Sleep With Me, one word, Sleep With Me at checkout for $5 off. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it is time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, the one part of the podcast. This is the one part of the podcast where the magic happens. When I say the magic happens, the magic Sleep With Me really comes down to the podcast comes out twice a week. It's over an hour, and it's free. And if you're a free listener, I want to tell you, I am committed to those 3 things for this year. I'm doing whatever it takes, but I do need your help because it's not possible without listener action, either directly supporting the show or supporting our sponsors. And I really do need your help. That's what the whole thing of the Sleepy Supporter Zone comes down to. Right now we have 3 sponsors, and ideally we'd have between about 12 and 16 sponsors. And the good news is our 3 current sponsors when I'm recording this are Helix, Progressive, and ZocDoc, and they all have free options. So please, you support those sponsors. Take a few minutes. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. I know when you're falling asleep, it's not the ideal time. So please, when you pick up that cup of coffee tomorrow, remember Sleep With Me help you fall asleep, because I really do need your help. I'm committed to you and to keeping this content flowing twice a week, over an hour for free, and all the work that makes that possible. So please take a few minutes to check out the sponsors at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors, or write in your show notes to your podcast app, or support the show directly on Patreon or Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to thanking you here in the Sleepy Supporter Zone. That's the first part. The second part is you getting the support you need. There's links to resources in the show notes so you could check out right now. It's about being a part of positive change, being a part of community, not just saying Black Lives Matter, not just saying stop AAPI hate, not just saying support Ukraine, but taking action, learning more. And there's links to resources and places you could do that in our show notes. We're building hygiene kits as a community for people experiencing homelessness in our communities. And you can join that effort at sleepwithmepodcast.com/midnight mission. And that's it. Mr. Bard, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound or on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. Don't forget, check out our sponsors. Support them. Use their free tools. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing? Trouble getting to sleep? Trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play, and I'm going to do the rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts on your mind, thoughts you're thinking about the past, the present, the future. Thoughts, you say, okay, thinking about those thoughts, or those thoughts are here right now while I'm trying to go to sleep. So it could be thoughts, could be feelings, anything emotionally coming up for you related to those thoughts, or it could be physical sensations, changes in time, temperature, routine. You could have, you got your stuff going on. Whatever it is that's keeping you awake, it could be something else. I'm here to take your mind off of stuff and keep you company so that you could fall asleep, or while you fall asleep. And as I said earlier, the reason I make this show, and if you don't hear anything else I say, or you never listen to the podcast again, it doesn't change the fact you do deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a bedtime you could look forward to, or at least feel neutral about and not dread. Because that's the situation I've been in on and off my whole life, and a lot of other listeners have. And I'd prefer, if it's possible, for this show to work, or to introduce you to another sleep podcast that'll work for you, so that you have something to look forward to at bedtime. You say, okay, well, at least I got that podcast, or maybe I got a good book and that podcast, or I'm going to do some doodling and some winding down, and I've got that podcast, so I'm going to play a little, like color coup or do a Sudoku, and then while I listen to that podcast, whatever it is, I hope that this podcast can at least introduce you to the idea and the fact that you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve enough sleep where your life is more manageable, and you have that foundation. And ideally, you could build from there and be out there flourishing. That means our world's a better place to be in. But the other side of it is I make the show, and a lot of people are nodding right now along, maybe nodding off, but also nodding along saying, yeah, you deserve a good night's sleep. We know how it feels. We know how it feels, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep, whatever it is. A lot of us have been there. So that's when I make the show, or why I make the show. What I'll do is I'll send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'll use lulling, soothing creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents. So that means I'm going to get mixed up. I'll go off topic. Then I'll repeat myself, and then I'll forget what I was talking about. And then I'll say, what was Data's brother's name again? Lore. Oh, but there's a podcast called Lore, unrelated to Data's brother called Lore. I wonder if if there's ever been what is that thing called in the movies where they sneak something in? It's not a cupcake or a cookie. It's not a marshmallow either. How come I can never remember that? I'm not kidding either. I'm saying that it's not a cup. What is it when they hide something in a movie? It's not a cupcake. Every time I think it's a cupcake and I say, well, it must be a cookie. No, not a sprinkle. Is it some sort of candy? An Easter egg. Oh boy. So it's not sweet. Maybe I'll remember it now and say, oh, it's an Easter egg. Easter eggs aren't technically sweet. Oh boy, don't take that personally, Easter egg. You're sweet. The one Easter egg that's listening, oh boy, are you sweet. Or I'm sweet on you. And you say, Scoots, are you assuming all Easter eggs are Cadbury eggs? Because I say, no, I realize those are two different things. No, I realize that. I'm not saying that. No. All I was saying is I can never remember Easter egg, regular listeners. But what I was wondering, I was trying to give an example of a superfluous tangent and whatever the other one, pointless meander. And then I ended up giving two, I'm giving both of them naturally, en natural. Because somehow I was wondering if there was ever an Easter egg in the podcast lore about if they mentioned, but would that be Easter egg? Because isn't an Easter egg supposed to be self-referential? So maybe if they had, I don't know how they do that. How would you do that then? You could have a character in a story with a brother named Lore. Maybe, I don't know. These are questions I'm not fit to answer. I'm only fit to speculate and go off topic. But just a question, has lore ever been mentioned on Lore? Lore on Lore, there's a podcast idea. It's a recap of the podcast Lore featuring Data's brother Lore. Data and Lore would even be better. But and then they could even that could be how it opens, or it could be an unresolved bit. I love those where Data always says, how come, it's only called Lore on Lore, but I'm on it, I'm technically, I'm playing both roles if you want to get technical, but, technically, dear brother, we're here to talk about lore, and I'm Lore. I'm talking about lore. And then Data would say, yeah, but I'm also on the show. I'm a co-host. Well, no, you're not a co-host because it's called Lore on Lore, dear brother. And then people would say, I thought this was a sleep podcast to put me to sleep. Am I in the wrong place? And I'd say, no, that's just what I meant when I say creaky dulcet tones. That's my voice, not traditionally soothing. And then what happens is I get caught up in these thoughts. Next thing you know, I'm producing a new imaginary podcast within my imagination that's never been released, even imaginarily. And, but it's not a horrible idea either. That's the thing. You say, well, if you could get, first of all, do you know Data and Lore are fictional characters, Scoots? Okay. So that would be the first hurdle. But the second, this would be an in-world podcast. What do you mean? Well, isn't Picard still running? Lore and Data, somewhere on a space station somewhere, they listen to because they would be, the podcast Lore would have existed in their timeline, I would think. And so they're listening to the podcast. They're making a podcast in our future. You're with me, right? This is all possible. Replicator, make me podcasting. There's not actually a podcasting kit. I mean, you can buy them. But you say, you get it's a, I bet you those ships, I don't know what the, what is that called? The climate control noise is like. That would be the only hard part on that ship, and the whirring, but then, but we could do it. I'm sure it'd be great, maybe. Oh, sorry, I went off topic again. None of that intentionally. I mean, naturally. But so this is a show, a podcast that's here to, this is a bit ironic. Is that the right word? It's quixotic for sure. Thanks, Lore. No problem, dear brother. Oh, no, I'm not your brother. Oh, wait, you're in I'm playing you both imaginarily. Okay. So, so where was I? So anyway, the podcast, what was I saying? Oh, so this is a podcast that's here to keep you company and help you fall asleep. It's not a podcast that you actually listen to. You could listen or you can listen. And some people listen all the way to the very end of the show. Like if you can't sleep for some reason, there are other people that can't sleep that are listening, or people that listen during the day for a break, or people that just listen to unwind. But you can also just barely listen. That's the most common use case where you say, okay, you're talking and you think you're making sense, Scoots. Or you say, this is a reasonable idea. You don't see the holes in your own idea. Well, I say, no, I'm sure lore and data would be hard to work with. As a podcast producer, I mean, I have to work with Scoots and Drew. So I can see the downside. But yeah, so this is a podcast you just kind of listen to. You could turn me down to a mumble if you want, or you could just kind of listen and not pay attention. This show is also a sleep podcast that doesn't put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company, to be your friend in the deep dark night, your bore friend, your bore bae, your bore sib, your bore bestie, your bore burr, your neighbor, your bore bud, your bore friend, to keep you company. Just like you were going to call somebody and say, hey, talk to me for a while, but I'm not going to listen to you. Or you say, hey, tell me about your day, but I'm not really invested. I'm more invested in falling asleep, but I want to hear about your day in a soothing way. Those are all one time. You can only cash that in for one time per relationship per year. Like those coupons I used to give people as gifts that I say, please, like it was like a gift card. Good for one load of laundry. Good for one floor mopping, Mom. Happy Mother's Day. It's a coupon pack. Here, let me hold on to those coupons for you. Who would have thought that's the same person, that kid invented gift cards, or at least pitched it to companies. They say, people will lose track of these. They said, I used to give them to my mother all the time. Wash your car, Pop. I was one of the few people that brought that into adulthood in a mistake. It was a bad idea. What does that have to do with anything? I don't even know. But, you could do that once a year with somebody in your real life. But I'm just here to talk while you barely listen, or you can listen, or you could wake up and tune back in. So it's a show that doesn't put you to sleep, doesn't you can listen to it, but you don't have to. No pressure to fall asleep, no pressure to listen. That's what I mean. Structure the show. That's the next thing. Oh no. Well, the strangeness of the podcast. Now, the show does not work for everybody, but for most people, it does work for. Took 2 or 3 tries, sometimes over years. Most people that actually pay $20 a month to support the show, it is like a common level I heard from that said, I loathed you at first. Now I pay you because you put me to sleep every single night. And I know how much work it is. So give it a few tries and just see how it goes. Because this podcast is different. If you had trouble falling asleep, you probably tried a lot of different stuff and paid for a lot of different stuff. So just see how it goes. What was my point there? Oh, this is a podcast. Oh, just see how it goes. Yeah, if you're skeptical or doubtful, I mean, I would be too. Oh, structure of the show. So the show starts out with the greeting, friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So you feel seen and welcome. You say, oh, I could check that show out and see how it goes. So try that. Like you say, okay. Then there's support for the show, so it can be free twice a week. And then there's our intro, which is separate from the support. The intro goes on and on and on, kind of to start the podcast. And there are a few percentage of listeners that fall asleep during it. There's a percentage of listeners that skip it. But for most people, it just offers a buffer between being awake and being asleep, a wind down time. And you could do some other activity, or you could get ready for bed, or you could be in bed getting comfortable. But that's why we have an intro instead of just going straight into the story, is to have a little buffer, like scoots as slowly. I mean, obviously my lights are already dim, but I'm lowering the dimmer switch a little bit. So that's the intro. Then there's support between the intro and the story. So the show's free or optional to pay for. And then we'll cover an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, but in a very indirect and dull way. So don't worry. You say, I don't even know. What do you like? And you see, and that's exactly it. And so it'll be a bit more like a bedtime story than with TV recap. And then some thank yous at the end. So it's a structure show. It's the way I make the show. I'm really glad you're here. I really appreciate you checking the podcast out and coming by. I really hope I can help you fall asleep. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to do it for you for free twice a week. All right, everybody, it is time to talk about tonight's sponsor, ZocDoc. And you got to get over there right now. Get their app for free. Check it out, ZocDoc.com/sleep. And I don't know if you're like me, but you start feeling something, like especially with me, it's like scratchy throat, cough. Then I start Googling the symptoms. Oh boy, what's going on with my note? Do I have nodes? And then I go down that social media, TikTok rabbit hole, listening to advice from so-called experts. But there are better ways to get the answers you want and the care you deserve from trusted professionals and not random people on the internet. ZocDoc helps you find expert doctors and medical professionals that specialize in the care you need and deliver the type of experience you want. ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun. And surprise twists might work in podcasts and movies and shows, but they're not for medical care. I do not want any surprises. With ZocDoc, there are no alarms, no surprises, no flashing lights. You get to choose from thousands of patient-reviewed doctors and specialists, browse doctor profiles, upload and verify your insurance information, and get the care you need. So go to ZocDoc.com/sleep and download the ZocDoc app for free. I want to hear from everybody that's trying out the ZocDoc app. Then you find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/sleep. ZocDoc.com/sleep. Get over there. Let me know about it. Tell me as soon as you get that app downloaded and you start checking it out. Thanks, everybody. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive, home of the Name Your Price tool. You say how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you the coverage options to fit your budget. It's easy to start a quote. Visit Progressive.com to get started. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Everybody, Scoots here. We're talking about Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 4, Episode 12. The somebody who's having a tough time right now is not the title of the episode, but it's somebody that's had a hard time, and it doesn't take. I didn't realize it, but it's like, okay, I figured out. I know who that is, or maybe it's more than one person. I guess. Let me read through the notes, and then I'll hit play on the episode. It starts out with mapping, swing, survey. Renee Tundrill, 21503, be on the lookout. Even with Trudy, Picard Stargazer days, on the run, believe it, Worf no hour. Don't trust, trust is earned. No Greenaway. I did watch this episode, writing the notes in my car in the dark. working for a sales ship, Picking and Fock O'Brien, waiting for something shop, waiting for something ship, picking and food. So Brian, plastic fork, not a fish, very healthy. Feed shine, heavy foods. Brian sighs, mom did not believe in replicator. Handled raw meat, real meat. This is kind of funny. This is one of these first humorous kind of exchanges I've been aware of where it's like, oh, it's Keiko and O'Brien eating dinner. We get a sense of the relationship because she normally prepares the dinner or chooses the menu. O'Brien is picking at his food. And then he talks about the food his mom used to make. He says, we should eat some of that. I'll even prepare it in the replicator, of course. But he says, my mom prepared food. Then there's even some hubba talk, but it's interrupted by red alert, laser sounds, Cardassians. So we can continue on this Cardassian exploration. Ship firing, Riker, what the double hockey sticks is he doing? Sharper pen, escaping dunes. Evasive delta evasive pattern or evasive pattern delta. Duvet illicit costumes, power failure. Usually I have I do this in a different way, so, but I think it's fun to do just off the notes without it on screen. Shrinking down, answer on horror. Now, wow. In darkness, WAR, what is it good for? 2 days ago. Federation ship, unarmed, Gall Masset, peace. Not us. Let me call my boss. 1 hour. Yeah, you would be disappointed. You'd be at disappointed. Very well, 1 hour. Oh, but Picard tells him, so basically this Cardassian ship starts firing on the Enterprise unexpectedly because they're supposed to meet up. And that's when Riker says, what in the hockey sticks are you doing? And they take evasive action, take out their shield generators on the Cardassian ship, and then they call back. And that's a pretty standard move for the Enterprise, which makes sense. And then Picard says, by the way, like I say, let's work this out. I'll call my boss or the admiral, a better admiral than last time. Or this admiral's before the last one. And Picard goes, by the way, you'd be at a disadvantage anyway with us because we already took out your shield generators and our ship's, more advanced or something. Something about Ben Maxwell, WTF, silent running. So basically, 21505, go and find him with the Cardassian cooperation with observers, not prepared for a new conflict, proven the peace or preserve the peace, Hayden out. Science 11. I don't know what Science 11 means. It definitely says Science 11, though. Maybe not. I don't know. But so basically this scene is this dude, Ben Maxwell, started to stop contacting, went and started running their own campaign against the Cardassians. Has not contacted base and is disrupting the peace process, or the fragile peace between the Cardassians and the, the Federation. And I guess, again, I'm not sure on the seasons, the history of the seasons, but this could be after one of the Borg things where they say, well, we don't get the resources to deal with this anyway. Pretty sure this was after Picard was a Borg. Maybe not, though. Probably. What is this, season 5? Troy, stay close to the crew because everybody's going to, this is going to have strong feelings. Who served with Ben Maxwell? O'Brien did. Indeed. Data, by the way, Data has access to all the personnel files. I don't know if he has to, if Data has to be told to access them, like they're password protected. Unless a superior, whatever they call it, a higher officer just implements a search. Because they say, does Data ever say that? Like, oh, by the way, how's your rash? Jordy, how's that rash doing? Still bugging you? And they say, what are you looking at my Well, no, I'm not looking there. It's just part of my brain. Your personnel file is part of my brain, my positronic matrix, man. You see, can you keep my can you put a HIPAA on that thing or something? Because I don't need my personnel file being a part of your positronic matrix. I prefer, that it's not the case. Welcome to the Enterprise, Galma said. Glenn and Dora or something. Gall, I don't know. We'll get to that. Tills and Darrow or something. Troy looks back at O'Brien, who's staring at the Cardassians. As with a lot of TNG episodes, a lot of good pause on faces and stuff. Captain's log, quest for the Phoenix, scan 10 light years, no sign. In fact, we are skeptical. That's what the Cardassian says. Of course, very well. O'Brien, Captain Maxwell. Well, he's, they say, Captain Picard, you ever listen to the Beastie Boys? And Picard says, proceed. And O'Brien says, well, Captain Maxwell is big into that one album with the guy with the the one I can't stand it. I know you planned it. I'm going to set straight this Watergate. And Picard doesn't show a sign of recognition. He goes, listen, it's a sabotage. And Picard goes, O'Brien, you're going to have to speak in present tense for me. And he says, well, I don't know, no speculation. Oh, no. Then he says, confine things to the facts. I think he says this. I don't think he says this to O'Brien, but locate the Phoenix bridge. O'Brien, 2 Cardassians. Oh, they go on Cardassian. O'Brien gets on the lift with 2 Cardassians. And there's a total stare down. Deck 6, Deck 10. Hey, why don't you join us for a drink on 10 forward? The Cardassians say to O'Brien, we'd like to talk about transponders and stuff, or whatever they're called, transporters. Your captain is most impressive. And O'Brien tells him to take a hike. I choose my business or something. I choose who I spend my time with or whatever. I'll follow orders. Total burn. Captain suggests Captain. Dipluminary. You will not give us news. Dipluminary. Diplomacy. You will not give us something. O'Brien. Dinner daily. Casserole. Oh, so then O'Brien pulls a casserole out. O'Brien's singing. What are you singing, honey? This is O'Brien and Keiko. Oh, something from the Rutledge, Hair and Glory, and mashed potatoes or something. The Mustard Bay. O'Brien sings Captain Maxwell. Like that song. You like this kid who sang the song to him. Maybe he says that later in the episode. Keiko realizes her husband is, this is not complimentary of O'Brien. But the look on Keiko's face, she says, well, this is the man I married. This is why I love him. He's different than everybody else on the Enterprise. Then she says, what are these? He goes, capers. Why? Feelings. I feel for her, our map. Can you read it? Our transponder codes. This is back on the bridge. We have a warship, or stand time while ship is discharged. Picard and Riker share a look. Lots of stress. Very well. Mr. Worf, long beats. Picard and Worf, Mr. Worf now. Picard face, and then they go to a commercial. Moving on, Phoenix. Fred on Phoenix outside. On Magic Fives, torpedoes, fire. Oh, so basically they catch up with the Phoenix and it's flying and taking out Cardassian ships. And everyone on board is like, what in the what? Destroys a warship, Nebula class, and a science or transport vehicle. They were watching all this on the map from far, far away. 16 hours away at Warp 4. Picard says, hit Warp 9. Straight from 4 or 5 to 9. Lots of stress. Then O'Brien's working with a bunch of SD cards. And then Picard or somebody goes, can we talk about Ben Maxwell again? Ben Maxwell is a rare one. I got to work with two of the finest captains in Starfleet, so it is Picard, or maybe somebody else, I don't know. What's gone wrong with this dude, man? He's gone well into the deep end. Well, there's a reason. He took it well. Oh, so then he says, he always was he listened to the Beastie Boys, but he kept his Beastie Boy repressed. Kept it all inside like a good guy would. Wrong, but he even smiled all the time, even when he was in a bad mood, and joked about it. I'm totally here to tell jokes. I'm not in a bad mood at all. Not at all. It's deep down inside. And I like the fine watch you back. He must have his rooms. He must have his reasons. And Picard gets irritated. But he says, anger's like old leather, man. Chief does not get it, though. 10 forward. K Noir? K-Nar. That's what the dude is drinking, the Cardassian. And O'Brien kind of apologized. He says, mind if I join you? Sure. Why don't you have another fake ale? Sure. Takes a bit of getting to used to, the K-Nar. And O'Brien says, I owe you an apology. This has been hard on all of us, the Cardassian says. Terrible mistake. And O'Brien talks about struggled Phasar. O'Brien, very peaceful. Not what I believe because of you. So O'Brien tells a little bit of his backstory to the Cardassian and why he's irritable. Barking, I will protest this. Stealthing info, no ham, does go to your quarters. So they catch one of the Cardassians stealing info. The head Cardassian, Galmaset, says, go to your quarters. As you wish, Mr. Worf, please accompany. Then the Cardassian says to Picard, can we speak in private? Sure. Deeply regret this. We're here to make lasting peace, right? There are those who crave war, not us, though, right? We've had our full measure. Then they get 22 minutes to the Phoenix. They go on Picard's face. Maxwell's ship, and Maxwell looks behind him. Oh, so then they get to Maxwell's ship. They say, tell him to get aboard the ship's stat. Maxwell, whatever transporter's in, he looks behind him, like maybe somebody was cracking a joke on his ship. I don't know. Says, did anybody transport in with me or something? I don't know. And then he points at O'Brien. No idea. I don't know. Best I see your commander. He winks at O'Brien. O'Brien's face. Riker. I have no idea what this is. I deserves the shake hands. Please sit down. Huff. You must think I've gone mad. Where is your documentation? I can smell it. So Brian says, these Cardassians are up to nothing. And Picard says, you don't have any proof of nothing. This is just based on your thoughts and your feelings. He gets up. Nobody's going to tell me. It is it's a scientific station. And then he starts using these terms, which you'd say, maybe they wrote this because he says, well, these are just bureaucrats. They don't know. You should grade exchange, not under fire. Who lives, smell, and then he burns Picard. He goes, it smells musty in here, like a bureaucrat's office. I'd see if it was a bureaucrat's office, wouldn't they? I mean, maybe a storage room, but it wouldn't smell musty because if they were, unless they didn't use their office. I don't know what you're trying to say. What's your name again? Captain, I put some stuff about this guy I couldn't even share on the show. Does that say inscrutable? I doubt it does. Not true, not true. And then he goes, you're a fool, Picard. Come with me. You're going to Starbase 211 to get your next orders. Starfleet, I'll let you go there on your ship in dignity as commander, or you can come in the bridge and go in disgrace. And he goes, I'll return to the ship. I understand my orders. Picard calls Worf, goes to window. Picard goes to his window and looks out. Captain's log 3 hours ago. We called Hayden. Phoenix changed course. Pursue. Hail. Maxwell. Did anybody else kind of say Maxwell Silverhammer over and over again when they were watching this? Priority 1 message, no response. Warp 8. Maxwell went to Warp 9. Go to Warp 9. Arm the phasers. Call O'Brien. He was his tactical officer. On bridge, action, high power, subspace, field. Maxwell is hailing us. Proof. I got proof. Super close up of Maxwell. Slow down. And he goes, why don't you stop these ships and inspect them? Picard goes, that's not part of the deal, man. My job's to bust you. Like, let me beam. And then O'Brien says, let me beam over there and try to deal with him. Make it so. O'Brien shows up at what's the Maxwell's ready room. The darn ship, count on it. There is no war. It's over. O'Brien's sidekick. Oh, so then they talk about this guy, Caden Stampy or whatever his name was. He used to sing for Maxwell. He goes, oh, yeah, I liked that. Then they sing a duet, which wasn't bad. And he goes, I'm going to go down for this one or something. I'm not going to go or something. And they go, Captain's log supplemental. It's confined to quarters on our ship. Thank you, O'Brien. Loyalty ambassador misplaced. It does not come easy. Loyalty was earned. We have a capacity, but not dismiss him. One more thing. I was here to protect the peace. Take this message, Golmaset. We'll be watching. And then there's music at the end, like kind of like organ music. All right, everybody, I got this thing rolling. Oh, boy. Not anymore. Just jump to... I don't want to learn more. Okay, there's an ad running, so... It is for Lower Decks, which looks like there's different characters on Lower Decks in the Lower Decks episode we covered. And now it's rolling. I got a captain's log 44429.6. One of my favorite stations. And year since the peace treaty ended the long conflict between us and Cardassia. And now's when they're going into Sector 21503. Be on the lookout for that Cardassian ship. They should let us know soon. You got to keep this thing peaceful up on this border. I remember this when Picard says back we were running against a Cardassian ship on the Stargazer. Troy says, you running? Picard says, believe it. Preliminary overtures to a truce lowered my shields as a gesture, and they were not impressed. They'd already taken out most of my engines and stuff, and that's when Worf says, no honor. I don't trust them. Troy says, they're our allies now. We have to trust them. Nope, trust is earned. Worf says, not given away. Riker, Picard laughs. I don't know what he's laughing at, though. Hope they get, we don't want to stick around here for so long. Okay, then we see the dinner. with Keiko and O'Brien. What's this dinner? He says, "Hun, plankton, loaf, kelp buds, and sea berries." Oh, it's good for you, bro. Like, and he goes, how about I'm not a fish? She says, it's healthy, man. I had this every morning growing up. No muffins or oatmeal. Muffins are good for you, by the way. Corned beef and eggs for breakfast. I don't know how long they've been married, but Keiko, you've been introducing me to this wonderful food. I'd like to do the same. By the way, get married if you're on the Enterprise, because they got a dining room or like a dining area. Scalloped potatoes, mutton shanks, and oxtails and cabbage. Oh, you'll love it. Just like when I sing. And she goes, your mom cooked? She didn't believe in replicators. She thought real food was better. Real meat. It's so, such a strange thing that she cut it. And he goes, yeah. Wow. He goes, I'll use a replicator, though. I'll make you something special tonight. You'll love it. I promise. And that's when they say, hubba, hubba, hubba. I don't think we're mature enough for this show like now. Then this red alert, emergency stations, what the heck's going on, Delta evasion, that whole thing. Secondary hall, put up the shields, and that's when they get a corner on this other ship. I'll call my boss, frequencies, Golmaset, I remember back when this was on Amazon, the picture of Golmaset in the cockpit was like the picture. I was like, I'll never watch that episode because Golmaset has some sort of helmet on and very bird-like. And I said, I don't think I can watch that episode. I don't want to see a bird with a helmet on, but it's not like that in person. I mean, when you watch the episode, this dude, we're at peace. Why are you firing on us? Let me call, At such a contest, you'll be at a disadvantage 1 hour. Then the episode opens. Then we go back to the face-off. And that's when they talk about Maxwell. Ben Maxwell? He was one of the finest captains back in the day. Must have had a provocation. Wish I knew. He's gone on silent running. Doesn't even answer our communiques. Still in Cardassian space, probably. And go and find him, Picard. Come on, man. Get on it. Do you think the Cardassians are going to cooperate? Yeah, they're going to be on board with you. Picard grimaces at that. Observers to show good faith. Protect the peace, Jean-Luc. We're not prepared. So don't, no matter the cost, Hayden out. He leans back in his chair. Picard takes a breath through his nose. We have another showdown. They beam aboard. Oh, Science 2 was what was over Picard's shoulder. That's what I was trying to, I said Science 2. Oh, it's a science station. They're all leaning on it, having a meeting on the bridge. Do we really have to have them on board? Worf wants to watch everything they do. There are guests, Worf. Kind of locked some places at least? Maybe. So this kind of shows, they're feeling, the staff has feelings about it. Data, anybody that worked with Maxwell? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have the whole, I've got everything. Chief O'Brien, O'Brien. Well, he's a wild card, man. Everybody exchanges looks on O'Brien. Okay, well, I got to let Brian know I'm going to call him. Then they transport on. They're in some sort of like padded outfits, platform shoes. I'm Riker. This is Counselor Troy. I'm Golmaset. This is Glyn Darrow and Glyn Tell. So that's like their thing, Gall or Glyn. It's how high you are. Shall we? Okay. And then O'Brien's kind of staring. They're like staring after him. Troy catches it. She goes, I'm an empath, man. Even when the empathic feelings aren't, always great. Can we get a supplemental captain's log in Cardassian territory? Looking for the Phoenix. That's when they have a meeting. Everybody, they say, do you have any idea what this guy's up to? You don't even know where he is. We know his last known coordinates. That's a pretty good place to start. And they go, well, we're skeptical about this whole thing. Do you expect us to believe that you're really tracking him down? Yeah, we are, man. Of course you're concerned. That's why you're here. We're having a meeting. This is open. No secrets. You're hearing reports. Riker's very proud of Picard as he does this. He smiles. Very well. And then they go to O'Brien, who's been sitting silently at the other end. What's up, Brian? O'Brien, you got any insights? Maxwell's been through some stuff, and that Beastie Boys album. Yeah, but he always kept it, repressed. Good old, that's what we called him. As he taught me how to repress things, actually. Then they all get up to go. This is when O'Brien loses it on the two. He's just more passive aggressive. I'm not talking about nothing unless I'm, told to. I'm being a little hard on O'Brien. I mean, I realize that. So I apologize, O'Brien. But yeah, I have to get permission from Commander LaForge to talk to you about transporters. And in my spare time, I choose not to hang with Cardassians, which later we realize is because it just reminds him of bad choices he made. Or not bad choices, but choices that were too very intense for O'Brien. So actually, O'Brien has a little Band-Aid too. And, on the inside, what do we got here? Picard, Worf, Data there, I guess. Just seeing what other notes I have of what dialogue I want to talk about. Okay. Yeah, Captain, you got a suggestion? We have ships. Oh, they say, what if we find him and, give us his coordinates. We'll totally track him down. We could, meet up with him first. Picard goes, nah, I'm sure that's true, but given the circumstances, I better make contact. I'm sure you would want to do that if the situation was reversed. And they say, time's crucial, man. This guy's, Maxwell's, they used to say off the chain, I think. And you say, we got to stop him. And Picard says, only one incident so far. If I can reach him first, then diplomacy can prevail. But we don't want to escalate things, which is true. Could lose control. So you won't give us his precise location. Nope. Moving on. And we see the Enterprise going from left to right. O'Brien busts out a potato casserole. Keiko smells it. Then he's singing The Minstrel Boy is Gone. Sorry, I didn't mean to sing there. He's humming. What are you singing, hun? Oh, it's my casserole song, an old song, an ode to a casserole. We used to sing it on the Rutledge. Hadn't thought of it till I thought about, goes, oh, it's about glory. Glory, casserole and glory. Those two things go together. The minstrel boy makes casserole, and in the bowl, you'll find it. His casserole is girded on, and his wild harp slung behind him. And he goes, oh, Captain Maxwell loved that. Loved when we sing about casserole. Even more than the Beastie Boys. He wished they had a casserole song. And he goes, hey, man, we had this meeting this morning. And he goes, then he starts talking in third party. There's people that don't like the Cardassians, son. You know that? Believe that? She goes, well, it has been a tough time. What are these capers? He goes, yeah, but the war's over now. Why can't everybody get over it? And he's saying, but really he's talking about himself, She goes, well, have you gotten over it? Well, how do you feel about the Cardassians? Me? Well, I feel fine. Just like, just like Captain Maxwell told me. But she gives a knowing nod. And then he grimaces. I didn't notice that before. Then we're watching their live mapping, Cardassian supply ship. They say, how do you know all this? And they say, yeah, we got secret stuff on board, dude. You can read our transponders? He goes, listen, let's get a hold of Maxwell here. He's not answering our calls. Well, put out a repeating message, and Goma said, we're doing everything we can, and getting nothing done, sorry to say. Goes, show me the location of the other ships. And of course, there's a bunch of ships right by the Phoenix that could intercept before trouble. Just give us the frequencies, man. Or are you going to stand there and do nothing? Picard's stuck, looks back, he thinks, sighs, he goes, right, looks at Riker, he goes, Mr. Worf, have there been any responses to our calls? No, Data's listening too. Riker's listening. Okay, well. He goes, Mr. Worf, long silence, long thinking face. Goes, send the codes of the Phoenix to our Cardassians then. He goes, sir, they're going to shut the shields off then. And he goes, I got to stop Maxwell. Worf is not happy. He goes, Mr. Worf, now. Worf, yes, Captain. Starts to send the codes out. But this, I guess, is in some sense escalation. We get a long look on Picard's face. Then we go to commercial. We come back. And this is when they see the action. It doesn't work out for the Cardassians. But I guess that was, they shouldn't have sent the Cardassian warship, I guess. So in some sense, it very barely, I don't know, still doesn't make it okay, but it's just like, oh, that was a mistake. They're 16 hours and 44 minutes away. Hop it to warp 9. Wait, what warp were they on before? Sorry. Current speed of warp 4. Yeah, they went from warp 4 to warp 9. I don't know that, but that's going to be faster for sure. The dude goes, why weren't we going warp 9 the whole time? Picard goes, because it's not, this is, you gotta, we're using more lithium crystals or whatever. Picard goes to deal with O'Brien. Yo, this is not going good, O'Brien. Well, how can I help? Well, he's the best, man. He loved singing. Loved when this kid would sing to us about casseroles. And he loved keeping his feelings to himself. That's what he said. Sing about casseroles or the Beastie Boys, but don't have, keep it to yourself. Otherwise, feelings aren't part of the Starfleet code that I know of. But even Picard says, do you like the Cardassians? And Brian says, just fine. But got to watch my back. And Picard goes, this guy, Maxwell's there's no reason for what he's doing. He's been keeping things to himself for too long and got used to his deep down feelings that he kept inside that weren't even totally, should have been expressed a long time ago. Maybe in a song about casseroles. But O'Brien, he's also talking to O'Brien, about getting over his feelings. And I guess it does relate to O'Brien, who expresses his feelings later, right at the next scene. So that worked out. And I guess what's also interesting, about the Cardassians is they spent a lot of time in 10 forward, meaning, if we were talking about that they do want to socialize with humans and Starfleet officers. So that's interesting to me. But yeah, there's lots of stress. Okay, so we have them, Kanar. Sure, Kanar, K-no, K-yes. Takes a bit of getting used to. O'Brien says, yeah, by the way, I wanted to just say I'm sorry for blowing my top. It shouldn't have popped off like that, he says, in the turbo lift. And the Cardassian says, well, it's been a tough time. This isn't easy. I want to be back on my ship, too. And O'Brien says, yeah, I didn't even think about you. I was thinking about me, but that's interesting. Anyway, back to me. He goes, yeah. He goes, there was a lot going on back then, and I think we can agree that it was very intense. And O'Brien says, so I wanted to express my feelings about it, and maybe we can move on and move forward, even though I have strong feelings about it, because I was almost like living a Buddhist life before that. Wouldn't even take out a mosquito. Then they have the other Cardassian who was looking up codes or whatever. A computer station on deck 35, weapon systems. Oh, it's a lie, dude. I was interfacing with terminals to see, what their keyboard layout was. Don't know what I was looking at. And they say, come on, man. Why are you going on their computer, period? But I meant nothing. I just had some idle time. No harm. Go to your room and stay there for the rest of the expedition. And the guy says, as you wish, I guess. And they say, Worf, why don't you accompany this guy? Gladly, Captain. So they head to the turbo lift. And that's when they say, let's have a private conversation between two captains. So they go to the ready room. Door closes. Sorry about that. If you want to discipline him or something. Picard goes, it's your business. I've moved on. And he goes, you can do whatever you want to discipline him. Matter's closed for me. He goes, well, I wouldn't be so generous as you in your place, Captain. Picard goes, yeah, thanks. If there's to be a lasting peace, Skull must set, neither you or I must allow any one man to undermine our efforts, or anyone officer to undermine our efforts. And then they say, yeah, this is it turns out that none of this is real. The guy's acting, I think, for Picard, because he says, yeah, we want peace. But Picard goes, really? In the end, do you really? We'll be watching. Okay, now they caught up with a guy. He just goes on board, shakes Riker's hand after he looked behind him. Fine work you've done, Riker. We all owe you one. Points at O'Brien? Miles O'Brien? Hello, Captain. Double handshake. No idea you were on the Enterprise. Tactical officer on the Rutledge. I don't know if that's a promotion or demotion, to be honest, or just because you could size up things instantly with options to all contingencies. Remarkable. Well, learned it from you, sir. You got that silver tongue, too, from kissing the stone. Say, what? And he goes, yeah, I better see your captain right away. We got a lot to talk about. And Riker goes, no duh, man. But he grins and winks at O'Brien. Then Riker glares at O'Brien. O'Brien makes a little kid face. Guy has a little bit too much pomp when he walks in the office. Captain Ben Maxwell. They've never met before. And says, a pleasure. Please sit down. And Maxwell just slow sits down. He goes, yeah, you must think I've gone off the rails. Carter goes, yeah. Goes, yeah, I got to tell you, man, I'm glad you came to get me, because you know how it is with these bureaucrats, eh? Picard goes, what? Nothing out here could possibly justify your behavior. Goes, oh, well, let me lay this on you, man. Cardassians are trouble. They're up to trouble. Science station, my rear end. And Picard goes, you got some proof? I've heard around town. From who? Where's your documentation? He goes, I know what I know. And that's when he stands up. I said, this guy, he may have, he goes, come on, Picard. You know what I'm saying is true. This is a jumping off point. It's trouble. Points at Picard even. Nobody's going to tell me it's scientific research. Picard goes, but you should have just told Starfleet. Goes, wait 6 months for the bureaucrats. Pulls his jacket down. He goes, they don't get it. They're not like you and me out here on the ships. You must get it, Picard. Picard goes, you weren't even in trouble. He goes, yeah, there was trouble. He goes, lives? Whose lives? We had to act. Why? Picard says. Great exchange. Then O'Brien just, he's not O'Brien, whatever this guy's, Ben Maxwell. Picard goes, dude, you have really messed things up, taking us to the brink. He goes, oh no, I'm preventing all that. I'm a hero, man. He goes, that peace treaty was a ruse. And Picard goes, so you all alone decided to get rid of the treaty? He goes, yep, took the initiative, did what had to be done. Picard goes, what had to be done? For whom? Why would a man with a long service record abandon the fundamental principles I thought that he believed in or even fought for his whole life? And Picard goes, well, I believe you're not well, man. And the guy goes, shakes his head. Oh, no, 2 fingers up. Picard goes, you're on personal mission for you, your casserole songs. That's when he says, you're full, Picard. Because history will look at you and say, this man was a fool. Picard goes, I'll take the judgment of history. I'm not worried about it. He goes, I'll be vindicated by history. Picard goes, you're irrelevant. He goes, come with me. Let's do an inspection. You'll see how irrelevant I am. Picard goes, we're not chasing Cardassian ships. We're taking you in. Starbase 211. And that's it. Then we're going to return to Federation space together. Goes, those are Starfleet orders. Picard's grimacing now. I'll permit you the dignity to go on your own ship till you're done. He goes, or you could go in disgrace. And the guy swallows and says, I'll return to my ship. Picard goes, you understand the orders? Yes, Captain. And then he calls Worf. Take the guest off board. And Picard doesn't even wait for Maxwell to leave before he goes to the window. And we realize Maxwell takes off. What's he doing? No response. He tries to go after another ship. We haven't identified it. He picks up pace. They chase after him on screen. So they're chasing a ship. Right now, they're just watching. So well, maybe he won't mess with that other Cardassian ship. He goes, but Jada goes, there is a weird subspace field coming off that Cardassian ship. And O'Brien's on the bridge. He goes, O'Brien, what do you think I should do about this, man? What do you think he's going to do? And O'Brien says, and then they say, Maxwell's calling in. And now Maxwell's kind of really, it's super, he goes, there's proof to go inspect that ship that I cornered. He goes, dude, you had an order. He goes, board that ship and see I'm correct. He goes, we're not boarding anything, Maxwell. Get aboard the Enterprise now. And he goes, if you don't board that ship, I'm going to shoot some lasers. Picard goes, come on, man. I won't allow you to do that. And he goes, swallows. And O'Brien goes, can't make him feel like his back's against the wall. They're getting ready to do something. Picard goes, red alert. Ready, get ready. And Picard, then O'Brien also has a fact, like he goes, let me go over. And they go, well, you're blocked out. He goes, no, there's a cycle thing. I can sneak in through the cycling shields. And that's where you see Brian's intelligence. It's a high-energy sensor system, 5.5 minute cycles. There's a brief window, 50th of a second. I'll get through that. Make it so. Brian heads off. Next thing you know, Brian shows up at the dude's office. I mean, everybody on board must have been like, dude, what are we doing? Even like, Brian's like, dude, I'm here to talk and sing about casseroles. How'd you get over here? Come on, man. How do you think I got over here? We got to talk our way out of this. He goes, talk to Picard, have him look on that ship. Brian says he's not going to do that. He goes, but they're the enemies. And he goes, count on it, man. He goes, what happened? And Brian says, listen, man, there is no enemy. We have a peace treaty. The war's over. And he turns, he goes, no, you're wrong, O'Brien. The Cardassians. And O'Brien goes, that's what everybody thinks when they call someone the enemy. Maybe that's what they thought about us. And he goes, well, we don't start wars. And then he starts going back into the past, Maxwell. And O'Brien's just silent. Maxwell's like, I can't get over it. I can't get over it, O'Brien. O'Brien does a lot of blinking. And he goes, we were together. You know what I went through. And he goes, but you were joking and laughing about it, and keeping it repressed. He goes, remember that guy that sang about casseroles? Casserole and Cardassian is almost the same. He goes, yeah, that's Stampy. Good old Stampy or Stompy. Loudest walker on our ship. And Brian sits down on the arm of a chair. He goes, oh, yeah. Then they sit next to each other. What was that song you used to sing about casseroles? I loved that song. He would sing it. You would sing it to him. He would sing it to you. He would sing it for me. And then O'Brien says, the casserole is at dinner time. And it's all almost getting ready. And then he's trying to remember the song, the other guy. And he starts singing, both casseroles have girded on, and the harp plays when they're ready. Scoots is using ready a lot, but casserole, don't make sure it's done through all the world. It is good for us. Make sure you add, what are those things called? Capers. Because it'll make it extra tasty. They're singing side by side. Oh, casserole, we shall praise thee. And they pause on that. It's a pretty long freeze. I mean, not freeze, but, there's motion. Probably 5 seconds, right? Now we're at 8 or 9 seconds. And, wow, power of quiet. And then he goes, I'm in big trouble, aren't I? And Brian goes, oh, yeah. You might as well, there's nothing you can do now. Might as well, let's get this over with. Then we go back. Captain's, Maxwell's letting his first officer fly. He's confined to his quarters on our ship. Thanks, O'Brien. And, he goes, Captain Maxwell's a good man, made some terrible choices. I know that now. But it doesn't, I'm still happy to be on the ship with him. And he goes, Picard says, that'll be all. And then Golmaset says, well, he's loyal, that Riker, or that whatever O'Brien, misplaced. And Picard goes, the loyalty you would dismiss does not come easily for us, Golmaset. We got a lot to learn about us. Ben Maxwell earned that loyalty. And he goes, he earned 2 big honors, the high citations in Federation history, or courage and valor. But he couldn't find a role for him in peace himself. We can pity him, but we shall not dismiss him. And he goes, you're welcome to your opinion, Captain Picard, but I don't agree. So I'm glad. And Golmasek goes to sleep. He goes, one more thing. Don't think I didn't notice about that high energy field around that ship. You wouldn't do that for scientific equipment. He goes, so we'll be watching. And he goes, well, why didn't you check the ship? He goes, because I'm here to preserve the peace. So we'll keep our eye on you. And he goes, okay, but why didn't you board it? Picard just like, yeah, he says, I was protecting the peace, man. And I believe, firmly believe in the interest of both our people's peace. And if I boarded that ship, it would have been trouble. Because now we're having a pleasant conversation about me keeping my eye on you. He goes, I assure you, he goes, no, tell your leaders, I'm well aware. And they exchange looks. Well, Picard glares, wow. Then he turns away. Okay, this is powerful, man. Turns his back on the guy after glaring at him. And that's how the episode ends. Classic. Good night, everybody. And I want to thank everybody that became a patron recently. Aaron, Quentin, and Susanna. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Brittany, Cindy, and Nikki. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Brian, Skittles, and John. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Sophia, Elliot, and Lauren. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Stephanie, Miranda, and Ellie. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Jesse, Grant, and Rachel. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Cass and Dan. Thank you, thanks, and good night. And Allison and Emily. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Thanks, everybody who supports the show. Couldn't do it without all you. Those who support the those who support the show directly on Patreon or Apple Podcasts, or who support the show by supporting the sponsors. We grow as a podcast by people that, spread the word about podcasting in general. So I appreciate that. And I think that's it. I couldn't do it all without all you. And here's a Tuck You In sponsor that has helped us grow the archives over 500 episodes. Thanks and good night, everybody.